Okay, so I've used it as an analyst, I've used it as a strategist, I've used it as like tech support and code writing for me. I asked it to like review my author bio and give me some best practices and advice in terms of just like editorial support, which I think a lot of people use LLMs for that sort of thing. And then, towards the end of this chat, I just started getting curious about the nature of this Copilot and how it works and how I can interact with this thing better. So I asked, like, can you cross-reference and retain context from like between different Copilots? And it basically said no, which I like. I don't want it to share sometimes. And so it explained to me how that works. There are instances where I do want it to retain context, right? Like we just had this great chat and I was like, are you going to remember all this the next time we chat? And it said no. That it only remembers the system prompt and what's in the knowledge base. It doesn't retain context from chat to chat. And so it seemed like the natural unlock there. It said I have no persistent memory across sessions. But if you want that, it seemed like the simple unlock would just be to download or copy and paste the entirety of this chat into a Word doc or a PDF and then upload that PDF to the knowledge base. And so I asked, like, will that work? And it was like, hell yeah, that'll work. Then the knowledge base acts as my long-term memory. So if you want me to specifically retain something and hold on to it and be able to reference it for the next time we talk, put it in the knowledge base and that acts as my long-term memory. And that was super helpful for me.
The only thing I would add there is it's important to understand that all of that content from one chat isn't going to be in the context of the next chat. So it's still going to do the search and it's only going to pull the most relevant content. So you may get different answers if you continue on this chat versus if you go and do a new chat. So that's one thing to be aware of, that it doesn't contain all of the context, but I think it's a brilliant sort of hack, if you will, to essentially pull in the most relevant context as you go through the next chat.
Like if I was like, hey, that conversation we had on November 6th, you gave me this code for this author bio section that was super helpful. What was that? It could find that within the chat file that I had uploaded.
Exactly. And if you do this, over time, right, because eventually you're going to have so much copy between chats that you exceed the context window, then it makes it where you can start to build that repository of content that you have, with this, especially if you're going with a similar topic. That's brilliant.
And then, we signed off. I said tip of the cap and tipped algorithmic hat in return. It's pretty solid interaction with a machine.
Oh wait, you got an emoji and everything?
I got an emoji and everything. A little top hat with a little magic sparkle.
I saw, and people are always trying to get the system prompts to leak for these things. And somebody got from I think it was the ChatGPT system prompt, like, don't really use emoji unless they ask you to. And so it's cool to see that, like, it felt appropriate to use an emoji here. We're good buddies at this point.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I started this like just kind of scratching my head and wondering how much of it was going to help, and kind of came out a believer, and been using it, daily since for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like you leaning into that curious aspect, like, can I do this? How could I do this? What do you think about that LLM? Like, these things, if you're new to them, you can run into roadblocks, right? Or it can feel like it's not being helpful. And sometimes just asking it how to ask a better question, or asking it how to give it better context, like, it will help you do the thing you're trying to do. And to your point earlier, like, you're having it lean into the kind of the customer service bit, and now it's helping you learn how to use the tools you're using or doing strategy. Like, it's cool that you can point it in different directions and it'll kind of recalibrate to solve whatever problem you're trying to solve.
Yeah, and I mean, I use this for content marketing, right? But I think there's probably an easy way to shift this entire concept to project management, or software development, or business development. Really, anything you're doing, there's a data set that you're going to feed it. You're asking it to help strategize. You're asking it for tactical, support, customer support, and then asking it about itself and how to use it better in the future.
Dude, Adam, I wanted to say thank you for showing me this stuff, because I use these tools for almost every aspect of my life now, like almost too much. But I haven't really seen the value of what these Copilots do, and I've always thought, like, oh, it's just a system prompt, like, it's not that helpful. I can just type what I want. But it's way more than that, right? Like, it's all this. It's almost like siloing these different tasks, so there's less friction in the setup, and there's more longevity to what was working for you. You can return back to that. So I'm excited to go make my LLM for like my goofy video game projects, my programming, my presentations that I'm working on. I think I can save even more time by pre-baking in these things in these copilots.
Rock on. Happy birthday.
Thank you.